if there is a God, I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't want to hear him one day say to them, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of the Lord." Get your coffee. When you are reading the teachings of Jesus, more than a few of his stories are head scratchers. Like this one here in Luke's Gospel, chapter 16. There was a certain rich man who had a steward, and an accusation was brought to him that this man was wasting his goods. So he called him and said to him, "What is this that I hear about you? Give an account for your stewardship, for you can no longer be my steward." Then the steward said within himself, "What shall I do? For my master is taking away my position, and I cannot dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I have resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses." So he called every one of his master's debtors to him, and said to the first, "How much do you owe my master?" And he said, 100 measures of oil. So he said to him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly, and write out 50. And then he said to another, "How much do you owe?" So he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, "Take your bill and write 80. So the master commended the unjust steward, because he dealt shrewdly. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. The sons of this world are more shrewd, more thoughtful, prudent, sometimes more wise in their generation than the sons of light." Some people have a very hard time with this story. They consider it to be one of Jesus's most difficult teachings, and I understand the issue that people have with it. It seems as though Jesus is commending a dishonest embezzler, or putting a double-dealing swindler forward as an example for his disciples to follow. Is that what Jesus is doing? I don't necessarily think that's what's going on in this passage. Jesus is telling a story or a parable about a shrewd manager, and it does seem as though the shrewd manager was in some way defrauding his master, or at least that the accusation was brought against him that he was defrauding his master. Perhaps the manager was a bit overextended in managing his master's accounts, and the master had heard about the double dealing of this accountant, and now he's going to deal with the issue. But before the master could settle everything with his steward in something of an exit interview, the steward quickly settled the over-leveraged accounts that he'd been managing on behalf of his master at a fraction of what they were really worth. He was making room for himself in the future by his present position. Now, you might be able to make the case that this steward was unethical. He was certainly shrewd. He was prudent in his dealings. In some ways, perhaps he was just the kind of guy that the master would have wanted to manage his accounts until he didn't. Now, I don't think that it would be correct to see the master in Jesus' story as a stand-in for God. The master's commendation of the shrewd servant is not a commendation on the part of God. Jesus doesn't commend any dishonest or unethical dealings on the part of the shrewd servant in this story. He just uses the shrewd servant as an example of those of this world, the sons of this world. And people in this world often exhibit shrewdness and prudence. They recognize that there will be an accounting and a judgment for how they use their energy, assets, and time. And they use their present opportunities, their present positions for future gain or to open future doors. And Jesus says the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. We have energy, assets, and time. And whatever we commit our energy, assets, and time to will grow. So in what ways are we prudently, wisely, and diligently using our temporal gains to produce returns in the future and on into eternity? All of those things, energy, assets, and time, each of those are earthly. They will not be carried on with us into eternity, but we have them now, and we can and should be using them now. And there will be an accounting in the future. There will be a time when we stand before our Master, and we will give an account for how we have used our time, talents, substance, and influence. And my aim is to hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful and prudent servant. You were faithful over a few things. I'll make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord." Something to think about. We'll see you next time.